r/ask Reddit. What's the goofiest conspiracy theory you've ever heard? That white people are really just Indian albinos that got expelled from India a long time ago and settled in Europe. Laugh out loud, what? I think that confusion is due to the word Aryan, which white supremacists use, but also refers to a group of peoples originating from a certain mountain range in India. Dog food companies routinely breed large dogs and dump the puppies randomly all over the country. If they get adopted, it's a new customer. If they wind up in the shelter, they still gotta eat. That Clinton rigged the election so Trump would win, because Trump is a Democrat plant into the Republican Party so the Democrats could actually be in control. Because if you had the power to do that, you couldn't just rig it so you can win. Okay, but instead of being secretly in control, why wouldn't the Democrats want to be obviously in control? Because it's more fun to be in control behind the scenes. Hollowworth. I had an old coworker explain his ideas on it to me one time, and I had to bite my tongue in cheeks so I could let him finish without laughing. He thought there was an ancient race inside the planet. One day we were supposedly all going on boats to some hole in some ocean, and we'll just kinda pop on the other side and gravity will still work and there will be ambient light. Dude was smart otherwise, so I figured he took too much acid back in the day. He would also randomly show me drawings for his perpetual motion machines. A master race is laughable, haha, but in Antarctica they've drilled down onto the ice and have found at least one lake. Not only that, but there was life in the lake, which is indeed interesting. That the moon is a hologram. The moon landing was faked. PSH, you believe in the moon. If someone hits you with a conspiracy, just hit him back with one that's 10 times harder. The coolest one I've heard of was that the Titanic never sunk, but its sister ship the Olympic was intentionally sank for insurance reasons, but then they botched the rescue so people ended up dying. There's a pretty cool documentary on YouTube about it. That trees aren't real. The things we identify as trees are actually mediocre copies of real trees. Mesas are not geological features, but the fossilized stumps of real trees. Why the giant real trees were eradicated in favor of the smaller, crappier copies isn't made clear. Space vampires. We'll never see the space vampires coming because our telescopes use mirrors. Most UFO sightings are at night because space vampires don't like the sun. Parts of the moon landing were faked. We actually went to the moon to fight off the space vampires, and they only used the faked footage when they needed cover for the space vampires on the actual footage. China went to the moon to plant crops. That is garlic, to see if it was a viable way to ward off vampires. Since the SVs were on the moon, they are likely also on Mars, which is why NASA is having this big push to get their ass to Mars. One of the government contractors found a way to make humans harder to find by masking the telltale signs of humanity with empty space. They are trying to cover it up with this perfume they created with astronauts called Vector. The aluminum foil-looking stuff on the outside of satellites and spacecraft that is meant to reflect cosmic radiation. Also is made up of silver, which helps to deter interference from SVs since they don't like silver. Space vampires don't like holy water either, which is why we don't really hear about them in Africa because they bless the rains down in Africa. Like any theory, there is some controversy. One hot button is whether garlic is actually harmful to space vampires, or whether it was propaganda put out by the SVs to get us to season ourselves properly. One of the major arguments in support of this theory is the fact that garlic is an anticoagulant, which essentially makes things easier for the SVs. This theory is highly contested by the leading expert on SVs, Dr. Acula. Chemtrails are actually the government spraying aerosolized holy water into the atmosphere to ward off SVs. A similar effect can be achieved if we start adding holy water to Chad's vap juice. The reason that sex with a space vampire doesn't usually result in pregnancy isn't because their sperm is dead or incompatible, it's because they can't come inside without an invitation. Mermaids are actually space vampires that realize the sun could not harm them as easily underwater. If you're not already planning your bunker, just know that at any given moment there is a space vampire behind you. It might be thousands of miles away, but it is still behind you. I read a story from a doctor taking to a parent. The parent's your typical anti-vaxxer, spouting off about autism and heavy metals and whatnot. The doctor then responds with, "Ma'am, have you considered that all these things you said are really Russian propaganda meant to weaken the health of the US population?" It's definitely the best conspiracy theory I've ever heard. Also, the parent decided to get her kid carinated vaccinated. Doctors were right, the heavy metals in small quantities make no real difference. Anyone from Australia and the area around Arizona, including California, ingest uranium on a regular basis. Every new product you buy since 1950 that contained a neutrino-absorbing metal has been radioactive since about the 1950s or so. We all worry too much too many things that have a 1/out of billion chance of killing us over the stuff we know will rapidly degrade our health, things like eating too much fucking sugar. That picture going around Facebook of a dude chopping off a cow's horns with a pair of bolt cutters that says, "Stop killing cows for ivory." The caption claims that they cut the horns off to make a hole for the blood to come out, and then they put the cow in the cow crusher and squeeze all the blood out. They sell the horns for ivory, which is not what cows' horns are made of, but okay, and then urinate on the dead cows. It never gives any practical reason for why they need to get all the blood out, especially if they are supposedly only after the horns, and I can't fathom why they would urinate on the dead cows afterwards. Needless to say, this is not at all how dehorning cows works, and in real life it's generally done for safety reasons, not for ivory. Again, because cows don't have ivory. Dehorning is also kind of falling out of fashion since it's not super pleasant for the cows, so they try to breed for shorter horns now as an alternative. At first I thought the post was a joke making fun of animal rights, but nope, they were serious. You know it's bad when even other animal rights activists are calling bullshit on your post. My wife's tattoo guy doesn't believe in dinosaurs. I had a friend tell me that there were never dinosaurs, and that the devil put dinosaur bones in the ground to trick people into thinking the Bible was incorrect. In middle school I made friends with a girl who had transferred to my school from a private Christian school. So her family was pretty religious, and, being raised by garden variety secular heathens, I was totally mystified by all of their ideas and asked a lot of questions. I remember being deep in a conversation about the Bible and the age of the earth, and asking her mom once, "But what about dinosaurs? When were dinosaurs?" She actually told me they were around during the time of the Ark, and Noah took 2 of every dino on the boat. That birds aren't real. The things we identify as birds are actually robot copies of real birds. Bird droppings are not natural byproducts but mechanical bird parts falling and degrading due to the heat of the sun. Why the real birds were eradicated in favor of the fake, robot birds isn't made clear. Just today I found out that there's a movement called Christian Identity. Basically, they believe that the Israelites mentioned in the Bible were somehow related to the Nordic/Germanic peoples of contemporary Europe and the ancient Greeks and Romans. Therefore, white people are God's chosen people and the only race that have a right to exist. The reason why this isn't common knowledge, according to them, is because literally every major institution in modern history has been in on it, except Nazi Germany. I don't even want to repeat what they believe about Pocan Jews. Transvestigation. It's the conspiracy theory that the Illuminati are worshippers of Baphomet, who is both male and female. As such, Baphomet's influence corrupts them, and makes the Illuminati want to make their followers and puppets transsexual. As such, many celebrities, political figures, even historical figures, have been determined to not be the sex they claim they are, but are in fact transsexual. This is included, but is not limited to, Miley Cyrus, Johnny Depp, Angelina Jolie, George Clooney, Emma Watson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Michelle Obama, Justin Trudeau, even Adolf Hitler. They are all trans because they are manipulated by the Illuminati to be that way. So transvestigators are able to figure out who is trans and who isn't. How? By looking at a person and deciding if they are trans or not, with such telltale signs as arms slightly too long or too short, smaller, bigger frame of the body, the way your neck is shaped, hairline, not a receding hairline, just the hairline, and multiple other ways that totally don't have to do with genetics or evolution or anything. In short, they literally make shit up to try and claim that a person is trans, because it fits into their narrative. It's a train wreck of illogical leaps, and I love it. That grass is a heavy mind that's enslaved humans. We've been terraforming the planet, upheaving big chunks of rainforest and natural habitats of all major land masses. For what? To put down houses with grass. There are many more miles of grass on the planet than would be naturally, because we think it looks nice. This was a post from the conspiracy board a few years back. I'll see if I can find it. That I have a foot fetish. Found Dan Schneider. Alright girls, in this high school drama show episode I need you to all get in your PJs and put peanut butter and jelly on your feet to make foot sandwiches. Dan Schneider, probably. that then President Obama was using secret Department of Homeland Security slush money to purposely and quietly buy out all the .22 ammunition on American shelves because A, it was the most popular with gun owners, and B, would render a revolution against him less likely due to lack of this key munition. Thanks for listening and getting this far. I hope you all enjoyed, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed.